Hi everyone, this is Ed from Techvarium. Today I will be comparing the recently released brand new out-of-the-box iPhone 6 and its latest Android competitor LG G3. The arrival of the Apple iPhone 6 has created a stirring effect on the mobile device market, since it is a very big event. However, every year competition to Apple's iPhone intensifies from all sides. This year, Apple has given in to the desires of many people for a larger screen and gave the iPhone 6 a larger 4.7-inch display. Other companies, however, have gone even larger, and one such company is LG. LG released a G3, their 5.5-inch flagship. I must note that you will be looking at two new handsets, yet I managed to drop an iPhone 6 two times. This might speak to the quality of the materials. No, they're high finish, but the grip on the iPhone 6 without a case is not nearly as good as the one of the LG G3. Despite the difference in sizes, these two will be fighting for users' attention on store shelves all throughout the holiday season. This means that it's time to see how they compare. iPhone has long been perceived as a device of both style and premium build. The iPhone 6 does not stray from this trend. It comes with a new design where looks adopt a sleek, iPad mini-like aesthetic. The sharp edges and flat sides of the last four generations of iPhones are gone. The new iPhone 6 features rounded sides that make it a slightly better fit in the hand, but also you can no longer sit the iPhone on its side. The aluminum iPhone is tightly put together and every bit is as premium as you'd expect. The back remains flat though, with the Apple logo etched in the middle, and the only thing that breaks the otherwise uniform metal looks are strips of plastic that outline the antennas on the back of the iPhone. And yes, the camera protrudes out just slightly, which might annoy some people. The LG G3 on the other hand is a plastic device, but it does not feel cheap at all. LG has treated the plastic cover with a non-glossy finish, and this way it stays clean of fingerprints. It also fakes a brushed metal look. It's not real metal, but it's hard to tell from far. The phone is also very well put together with a solid feel to it. Unlike the iPhone, the back is not flat though. You have a curved back cover that goes a long way towards fitting easier in a hand. Speaking of size, the iPhone 6 with its smaller display is overall smaller and narrower. But the G3 is surprisingly compact for its screen size. The difference can be felt, and the iPhone 6, although a bit hotter than before, can still be used single-handedly, something that is hard to say about the G3. The iPhone is also surprisingly thin, just 6.9mm thick, while the LG's thickness varies, with its 8.9mm at its thickest point. In terms of buttons, the iPhone 6 introduces some changes. The power lock key is relocated from the top to the side, and this makes it easy to reach. The G3, on the other hand, has no buttons on the sides and all buttons are positioned on the rear surface. The lock key lies where your index finger resides naturally, and it also has a nice clicky feel to it. The lock key is encircled with two volume buttons. You can long hold the volume down key to quickly launch the camera app and snap away images, a very nice convenience. It will, however, take some time to learn to intuitively find those volume buttons. Also, neither handset is water resistant, a worry to those used to seeing water-sealed devices like the Sony's Xperia Z3 and Z2 and Samsung's Galaxy S5. The overall verdict is that the aluminum iPhone 6 is one of the smallest flagships out there, while the G3 has the record screen-to-size ratio but is still larger in size. Before diving into minute details about all the chips that make the two phones run, it's worth pointing out that there is a marked difference in the perceived performance of the iPhone 6 and the LG G3. The Apple iPhone 6 runs smoothly, with all animations playing with steady frame rates, and is capable of fast and effortless switching between apps. The LG G3, on the other hand, for one reason or another, just does not flow smoothly. It drops frames occasionally and apps take longer to load. What are the reasons for this? LG G3 has a heavier load to lift. Its Snapdragon 801 quad-core system has to drive millions more pixels of its Quad HD display, while the Apple's A8 has an easier task with the lower resolution screen. The processor and performance of the iPhone is probably the most misunderstood part of the device, as Apple's conservative approach to clock speeds fools many. Yes, the iPhone 6 does have a dual-core Cyclone CPU clocked at 1.4 GHz, while the LG G3 runs on a quad-core Snapdragon 801 system chip with a 2.5 GHz Grade 400 GPU. What this doesn't tell you, however, is that the 2.5 GHz clock speed is more of a turbo speed that the G3 goes up to for a very limited time before reverting to much lower nominal clock speeds. Overall, when doing benchmarks, it shows that single-core performance is in fact much faster on the iPhone 6, while multi-core performance is about on par with the G3. The Apple A8 is also built on the more efficient 20nm manufacturing node, while the G3's Snapdragon is manufactured on a 28nm process. The amount of RAM is just 1 GB on the iPhone 6, while the G3 has a whopping 3 GB of RAM. That's one clear advantage for the G3, but we should also take into account that it's hard comparing specs like this directly because of the very different ways Android and iOS multitask. Apple claims that the iPhone 6 also packs a 50% more powerful GPU than its predecessor, and combined with the relatively low resolution, this results in some huge changes to the gaming capabilities of the device. In terms of internal storage, Apple has made a change to its lineup with the iPhone 6, as the device now comes in 3 different models, a 16, a 64, and a 128GB one. Yes, there is no 32GB model. The LG G3 in comparison comes with a 32GB of onboard memory. The main difference between the two lies in the fact that the iPhone 6 does not have a memory expansion slot, while the G3 allows you to put your own microSD card of up to 128GB to expand on its built-in storage allowance. Ultimately, the iPhone 6 is a smooth performer that works well in daily life and climbs benchmarks lists all the way to the top. The G3's Quad HD display drags it down, and while not slow, it occasionally stutters. So what about the battery life? There are a lot of factors in play when it comes to battery life, but while being decent performers, neither the LG G3 nor the iPhone 6 can brag about having stellar battery longevity. The iPhone 6 packs a sealed 1810 mAh battery, while the LG G3 sports a 3000 mAh juice pack. In stressful battery tests that simulates continuous real-life usage, both underperformed. The iPhone 6 scores 5 hours and 34 minutes of non-stop usage until the battery dies, while the LG G3 records a slightly higher, but still non-impressive 6 hours and 17 minutes. Let's talk about the camera. The Apple iPhone 6 features an 8-megapixel iSight camera with dual-tone LED flash, while the LG G3 sports a 13-megapixel main shooter with the dual LED flash. LG also includes optical image stabilization, which the 4.7-inch iPhone does not have. First, the basic camera specs. The iPhone 6 comes with a 1/3 of an inch sensor, the same size as in the iPhone 5S. Apple underlines the fact that the iPhone has a large 1.5 micron pixels, a feature that it considers essential for image quality, and this size is indeed larger than the 1.1 micron pixels on the LG G3 and most other flagships. Spread across the sensor are Apple's new focus pixels, phase detection pixels that are used for faster focus detection. The LG G3 on the other hand features a 13-megapixel Sony IMX135 sensor that is just a tad smaller than that of the iPhone. Focus speed on the G3 is improved thanks to a laser assistance system. In terms of optics, the iPhone 6 comes with a 5-element aperture lens with a 29mm focal distance with a sapphire cover. The G3 in comparison features a slower lens with an identical focal distance. Apple has definitely stepped up the game in terms of camera architecture in the iPhone 6, and the stock camera app opens up quickly and shoots quicker than any other phone out there. Apple has added an exposure control feature that is triggered when you manually select the focal point. After selecting it, drag your finger up or down to adjust exposure. It's simple but yet extremely effective and easy to use. In addition to that, you have a new time-lapse mode, 1080p recording at 60 frames per second, and the very cool slow motion at 240 frames per second and 720p. It's worth pointing out that the iPhone 6 can capture 43-megapixel panoramic images, and even more detailed than the 28-megapixel ones of the iPhone 5S. The iPhone 6 does admittedly lack 4K video recording capabilities. LG's G3 has a similarly simple camera app that is made for shooting all auto. Manual controls are very limited. You can only select whether or not to use HDR, as well as the timer, image resolution, and voice commands. The G3 has a magic focus mode that allows you to tweak the focus of a picture after you capture it, but it is slow, fussy, and does not work well with moving objects. There's also a panorama mode, which is much less detailed than the one on the iPhone, and a dual shot mode. The picture quality on the iPhone 6 is great. Images look lively, with vibrant colors, and exposure is usually spot on. In low light, the camera does a very good job as well. Noise naturally gets more visible in such situations, but it's kept at reasonable levels, and it's less than the iPhone 5S. When the dual-tone flash fires, it lights up the scene well, and does warm up the image so it does not look unnaturally cold. The LG G3 on the other hand is a similarly great performer when it comes to image quality. Both capture images that are rich in detail and with vivid colors. A bit on the warm side though. Indoors though, the G3 does a good but not a great job, as sometimes images captured on it look blurry and detail is a bit too softened out. One area where Apple did not improve all that much is the front camera. The iPhone 6 features a 1.3 megapixel front selfie camera, which is of the same resolution as in the earlier iPhones. The LG G3 front shooter has a slightly higher resolution at 2.2 megapixels, but also does not impress much with the end results. Overall, the iPhone 6 manual exposure is a welcome new feature, and overall its 8 megapixel shooter captures great looking images in both day and night. The LG G3's 13 megapixel camera features OIS and shoots similarly good pictures. Interface and functionality. The Apple iPhone 6 runs on the latest iOS 8, while the LG G3 features Android 4.4 KitKat customized with the company's Optimus user interface. The battle between iOS and Android has grown to the proportions of the fanboy Windows versus Mac wars of the 90s, but on the whole the two platforms are comparable in terms of richness of features. Google has done a great job catching up and even surpassing the App Store in terms of the overall number of apps, but Apple is still ahead when it comes to the important apps. Top games and apps by big companies still often arrive first, and sometimes only, on iOS. In terms of functionality though, Android and iOS are similarly capable. iOS is a bit simpler and easier to grasp. You have no complications like an app drawer, file manager access, and you have a physical key that you can always press when you get in trouble. Android, on the other hand, has gone very far towards being more user-friendly. It in fact takes pride in those sophistications like the file manager, as that provides extra functionality. It's clear that in many ways, the two platforms borrow from each other. iOS adopted an Android-like notification drop-down, and Apple has optimized it in iOS 8 to include not 3 but 2 tabs. However, Apple has also outsmarted Android with its control center that you access by swiping up from the bottom. It has 4 essential shortcuts to features like the flashlight, calculator, timer, and camera access, and having those always within reach is something that works out to iOS's advantage. iOS 8 takes 2 important steps to catch up with the openness of an Android system. First is the expanded sharing options, an area where Android is king with effortless sharing between all sorts of apps across the entire platform. And second is the addition of third-party keyboards with gesture typing that Android has had in a long while. For all else basic functions, the two platforms have different visuals but nearly identical functionality. It's worth pointing out that there is a notable difference in the bundled apps on iOS and Android. iOS 8 and iPhone 6 lack the Google suite of applications out of the box, but does have a built-in health hub, as well as the passbook coupon and card aggregator that Android lacks. The LG G3 on its part has a few tricks up its sleeve. An infrared sensor with companion app to use your phone as a TV remote are absent on the iPhone 6, as well as are the other neat features like the knock on, knock twice to lock and unlock the screen, and quick memo that allows you to jot down a note on top of any screen. In terms of customization though, Android is still way ahead with its features like live wallpapers and the capability to add launchers, themes, and basically tweak every aspect of the interface to your liking. Apple has made some baby steps towards more customization, but it's still pretty much limited to Apple's idea of what the operating system should look like, and you cannot change things like icons, themes, and so on. I do like, however, that both companies realize that larger screens require some optimizations to the user interface. Apple has a reachability in the iPhone 6. So you can double tap on the home key to bring down any screen so that you can reach it with a finger while holding the phone by one hand. The G3 allows you to squeeze the keyboard to the left or to the right for more comfortable single-handed typing. Finally, iOS 8 on the iPhone 6 is a well-polished operating system, where Apple shows its own idea of visual style with a clean and colorful interface, while the LG G3's Android Skin features contemporary looks and offers some unique features like quick remote. With all things said, which one should you pick, the new iPhone 6 or the LG G3? Both are great flagship devices, but if price is your main concern, then the LG G3 definitely has the upper hand. Its prices range from free to $50 on a 2-year contract, or $490 when you buy unlocked. The iPhone 6 on the other hand starts at $199 on a 2-year contract, or $649 when you get it off contract, and the Verizon version is also unlocked and free to use internationally. Another subjective factor would be the screen. You'd have to make a decision whether you want a larger 5.5-inch display like on the LG G3 or a smaller 4.7-inch screen and compact body like on the iPhone 6. If we ignore price and screen size for a moment, the LG G3 would be a better fit for those who prefer the openness of an Android operating system and the options to tinker around with, and customize the looks of the interface completely. For all else though, the iPhone 6 just seems to offer more when it comes to all major areas: screen quality, performance, and camera. Plus, it's also got the rich Apple ecosystem behind it, and that's not to be overlooked. Let me know which phone you prefer. If you have questions, please post those down below and I will do my best to get back to you. Now, if you enjoyed this video, show some love to that like button down below and make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have enjoyed this review. See you guys in my Nokia Lumia 930 Aquarium review very soon.